6 years had passed since the war ended. The fields of Bryson's village swayed under golden sunlight, the sound of hammers and laughter replacing the echoes of blasters and screams. The settlement had grown from a handful of survivors into a thriving town, small houses, fresh crops, the chatter of children running through streets he had once built alone. Bryson stood on the edge of it all, hands scarred from years of work, the weight of his saber hanging from his belt. It no longer glowed crimson. The day the peace came, he had taken the cracked crystal, once born in rage, once drenched in blood, and bled it clean through meditation, pain, and forgiveness. What emerged was white, pure and quiet, humming like a promise. It was not a weapon of vengeance anymore. It was a symbol of what he had become. One morning, a caravan arrived at the edge of town. Traders, wanderers, and one face Bryson never thought he'd see again. The man stepped down from a rusted hauler, older now, worn and hollow-eyed. His father. The world went silent. The sound of wind faded. Bryson's breath caught in his chest. For years, he had dreamed of this moment, not as reunion, but reckoning. The man who had broken him as a child now stood before him, frail, unsure, his gaze lowered. "I heard," his father began, voice rough. "I heard my boy built a home out here. Thought, maybe I could help." Every memory of pain screamed inside Bryson's skull, the nights of crying, the fists, the fear. His fingers brushed the hilt of his saber, feeling its cool metal. But when he looked into the man's eyes, he didn't see power anymore. He saw guilt. Weakness. Time. Bryson took a long breath. "You can stay," he said quietly, voice steady. "But this town, it's not built on what you were. It's built on what I became." His father nodded, eyes downcast, tears barely held back. That night, under the twin moons, Bryson ignited his white saber and set it on the wall beside his bed. The light reflected off the room's wooden beams, soft, warm, alive. A symbol of redemption, and of restraint. But even as peace settled again, Bryson felt something in the force, a ripple, distant and cold. Somewhere far beyond the stars, a shadow stirred. The past was never finished. Far beyond the quiet fields of Bryson's village, the cold black of the outer rim stretched endless and silent. Silver's ship drifted through the wreckage of forgotten wars, a graveyard of metal and memory. He had followed a signal, faint and old, pulsing from a derelict Sith craft buried within the husk of a long-dead cruiser. The ship was ancient, at least 2 centuries old, its hull scarred by time and battles long erased from history. Sith runes glowed faintly along the walls, whispering fragments of hate and power. Silver moved cautiously, golden cloak brushing against frozen air, his hand resting on the hilt of his saber. Inside the ship's heart, beneath a layer of dust and wires, came a sound, soft, static-filled, mechanical. A faint chirp. Then another. Silver's breath caught. "No," he whispered, stepping forward, brushing debris aside until he uncovered a familiar dome of metal and blue lights. Clanker. The little droid twitched, sensors flickering weakly to life, before releasing a tired, glitchy warble. Silver fell to his knees, a rare smile breaking across his scarred face as he placed a hand on the droid's shell. You're still alive." The droid beeped twice, slow, uncertain, but warm. For the first time in years, Silver felt something close to joy. Then the air shifted. Footsteps. Another Jedi entered the wreck, a young knight sent by the Council to investigate the same signal. His eyes met Silver's, confusion flashing into suspicion as he saw the Sith runes and the glowing red light of the old ship. "Master Voss," the Jedi said, hand on his saber. "Step away from that droid. The energy here is corrupted." Silver rose slowly, tension bleeding into the air. "You don't understand." The knight ignited his blade, fear in his movements. Silver turned instinctively, his own saber flashing gold. For a heartbeat, light filled the narrow chamber, gold and blue, crashing, spinning. Then silence. The young Jedi fell, lifeless, his saber clattering to the floor. Silver stood frozen, horror in his eyes, his breath gone. His blade dimmed. Clanker beeped softly, almost mournfully. He hadn't meant to kill him. For the first time in years, Silver felt the cold weight of guilt crash through him. He turned away from the body, from the echo of his own failure, and whispered to the darkness. "I'm so sorry." Then he deactivated his saber, lifted Clanker into his arms, and vanished into the starlit void, leaving the dead Jedi behind among the ghosts of the past. Years had passed. Ethan, now a Jedi Master, stood on the training grounds of a remote temple, watching his Padawans move through their drills. Lightsabers hummed, Force leaps cracked through the air, and he felt a quiet pride, a warmth he had never known as a child wandering Jedha's ruins. But a lesson always lingered at the edge of his mind: knowledge was incomplete without caution. The galaxy was full of shadows, and a Jedi must understand darkness to resist it. So, when a faint signal appeared on his navigational charts, an ancient ship buried in the outer rim, Ethan saw an opportunity. He gathered 2 of his Padawans, young and eager, and set course. "You must see this," he told them. "Not as an adventure, but as a warning. What you do not fight, you may become." The ship was older than most remembered, twisted metal, blackened hulls, and the bitter scent of time and war. Ethan stepped aboard first, lightsaber casting a calm blue glow against the jagged shadows. Inside, the wreckage of Sith life sprawled like a frozen memory. Then he saw it, a body, fallen and lifeless on the deck, saber clattering beside him. The figure was a Jedi, garbed in gold, eyes closed, yet something about the stance and the hilt gave Ethan pause. The Padawan stared, uneasy. One whispered, "Master, who did this?" Ethan knelt, running his hand near the blade, studying the scene. "I don't know," he admitted softly, a knot forming in his chest. But whoever it was, they were powerful, and desperate. He looked out at his students, young faces pale but attentive. "This is why you train," he said. "This is why you learn discipline, restraint, and clarity. Power without control destroys more than enemies, it destroys yourself." Ethan rose slowly, eyes scanning the darkness for threats, unaware that the Jedi who fell here had only moments before carried the weight of the galaxy in his hands. He did not yet know it was Silver, nor the burden of guilt he bore. The ship stood silent around them, whispers of old hatred clinging to its walls. Ethan led the Padawans out, teaching, warning, the dead Jedi left behind as a shadowed lesson, a cautionary tale of what happens when even heroes falter. Outside, the suns of the outer rim reflected off the ship's scarred metal. Ethan felt the Force hum, uneasy, restless, as though the galaxy were holding its breath, waiting for the next chapter.